All right, let's get right into it. If you've spent any time at all in the WebRTC world, you've definitely heard of Janus. It's this super powerful general-purpose gateway that's the engine behind a ton of real-time communication systems. But let's be honest, it also has a bit of a reputation for being a real beast to tame. The best way I've found to think about it is this. Janus is like a top-of-the-line, high-performance race car engine. It can give you just incredible power and speed. But that's it. That's all you get. It doesn't come with the rest of the car. There's no chassis, no steering wheel, no brakes. It's a low-level, pretty unforgiving piece of tech that expects you to build the entire vehicle around it. And don't get me wrong, its power is absolutely immense. It really is a cornerstone technology. Its whole plug-in-based design makes it an incredibly flexible selective forwarding unit, or SFU. You can use it for anything from huge video conferences to interactive live streams. The potential is just massive. So that brings us to the big question, right? If Janus is so powerful and so popular, why do so many teams struggle with it? Why do we see production systems built on Janus that are just fragile, full of bugs, and an absolute nightmare to maintain? Well, the answer isn't a bug in the code. It's a flaw in the architecture. Now, before we really dig into the nitty-gritty of that architecture, I have a quick favor to ask. We are just starting out here and have a really exciting goal. We want to build a small community of our first 50 subscribers by February 28th, 2026. So if you're finding this useful, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And maybe share this with a friend or a colleague who's also working with WebRTC or backend systems. As a special thank you, once we hit that 50 subscriber goal, we're going to host a private introduction and networking session just for our founding members. It'll be a great way for us all to connect. Okay, so here's our game plan for the rest of this explainer. We're going to look at what I call the architectural trap, then we'll lay out the backend blueprint to avoid it, walk through a real-world example, and then wrap it all up with a final verdict. So first up, the problem. Let's talk about this architectural trap that so many projects fall into. This is really where everything starts to go sideways, and it's so important to understand why. The real problem, the absolute core of it, has nothing to do with media or codecs. It's all about state management. See, the most common mistake people make is creating this really tight coupling between their client-side app, the code running in the browser, and the low-level Janus API. This direct line of communication creates total chaos when you're trying to manage the state of your sessions and connections. And I bet the symptoms here are going to sound painfully familiar if you've ever worked on this. You get these sudden session timeouts, even though you swear you're sending heartbeats. Users disconnect, but they're still showing up as ghosts in the video room. You get these orphaned handles just sitting there, eating up server resources. Media flows break for no reason, and WebSockets just get stuck. Sound familiar? This diagram right here shows that flawed approach perfectly. You've got the browser talking directly to the Janus core. It's trying to handle all these complex JSON messages, session creation, handle attachments, heartbeats, everything. Each client is basically responsible for its own state, and any little hiccup, a network glitch, a user switching browser tabs, can corrupt that state and leave things in a mess on the server. And this is the most crucial point I want you to take away. These issues, they are not WebRTC bugs, and they're not even really Janus bugs. They are flat-out architectural failures. You're trying to use a low-level engine like it's a full-stack application server, and it was just never designed to be used that way. So please, stick with me for the next section because we're going to solve all of this. I promise you, understanding this architectural pattern is way more important than memorizing any specific API call. Okay, let's get to the good stuff, the solution, the back-end blueprint. This is really the key to building a Janus-based system that's stable, secure, and ready to scale up. And here it is. We take that exact same diagram from before, but we add one critical piece, a back-end wrapper. This is your own service layer, your application backend, that sits right between your client app and the Janus core. From this point on, your client never ever talks to Janus directly. It only talks to your backend service. Now, this wrapper has a few really important jobs. First, it manages that persistent, secure connection to Janus and reliably handles all the low-level stuff, like heartbeats. Second, it's a translator. It takes a simple request from your app, like join room, and turns it into the complicated sequence of JSON commands that Janus needs. And third, and this is the most important one, it becomes the single source of truth for your application state. It tracks who is in what room, completely separate from Janus.
This approach is brilliant because it lets you use all of Janus's strengths, like its scalability and plugins, while your backend wrapper completely neutralizes its weaknesses. The wrapper handles the complexity, it deals with the strict timeouts, and it gives you the robust state management that Janus itself doesn't have. You really get the best of both worlds.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Let's walk through a real-world workflow to see how this backend wrapper completely changes the game. Okay, picture this. A user wants to join a video room. Their client sends just one simple, authenticated request to your backend wrapper, join room 123. That is it. Your wrapper then does all the heavy lifting. It creates the Janus session, attaches to the video room plugin, gets a handle, negotiates all the SDP stuff, and then passes only the necessary info back to the client. And when the user leaves, they send another simple notification, and your wrapper makes sure every single resource on the Janus server is cleanly destroyed. No more ghosts, no more orphans. The benefits of this are just massive. Your system becomes way more reliable because all that complex, messy logic lives in your controlled backend. It's more secure because Janus is hidden from the public internet. It's more scalable because you have one central place managing state. And your front-end code, it becomes beautifully simple and so much easier to maintain. All right, let's bring this all home with the final verdict. What are the absolute key things you need to remember to use Janus successfully in a production environment? First, never forget that race car engine analogy. Janus is an incredibly powerful WebRTC engine. It is not a complete, out-of-the-box solution. It's a component, and it's your job to build that well-designed vehicle around it. And that leads us to the #1 non-negotiable golden rule. If you forget everything else from this explainer, please remember this. Always, always abstract away Janus's complexity with a dedicated back-end service layer. Do not let your client talk directly to Janus. This is the secret. This is how you tame the beast. And hey, if this was helpful and cleared some things up for you, do me a favor and hit that like button. And maybe share this with another developer you know who might be wrestling with these same challenges. It really is the best way to help spread the knowledge around. And finally, make sure you subscribe to Lalit Official. We have so much more content planned with deep dives into back-end architecture, more on WebRTC, and tons of real-world system design breakdowns just like this one. You're not going to want to miss it. Thanks for watching.